All right, now we're going to keep on with our gap schemes, but we're going to get in some ways you can run some counters. All right, so you always want to practice, your run game and have counters, off of each of your runs. Now, counters don't have to traditionally be guard, tackle, counter, and I'm going to show you the different counters that we have within our offense. And this is how I come up with counters. Okay, and this is how our offensive staff, and we talk about it, and this is what we do. All right, so we study what's the best counter for our base runs. Okay, so what are our base runs? All right, and let's say our base runs are inside zone and power. All right, and what formations do we run them out of? Do we run same side power? Or we typically always running inside zone with our fullback on the same side? So then we go, okay, that's how we're running it. So let's build some counters off of that pre-snap look, okay? I think you got to have gap and zone counters. I know that sounds crazy to say a zone counter, all right? But you can use zone schemes and change the action of the backfield or the back or the back's landmark or where the fullback is to create some type of counter, but it still be a zone scheme. It's not necessarily a gap scheme. So any type of action to get the defense moving, all right, and that's what we like to do. So motions and RPOs and things like that gets the defense moving, all right. So and that's what we want. We want to run some counters back off of that stuff. We have guard and tackle, traditional counter, pull kick, pull wrap. We have guard fullback, pull kick, fullback wrap. We got guard, pull kick, U-back wrap, our dart play, right, which is the tackle pulling, and our zone ISO and mid zone. All right, and I know mid zone is just inside zone, right? But you can do some things away from the fullback with your mid zone stuff, and it can serve as a counter play. All right, so guard and tackle counter, you have that. And it's just base, this is like something we would run out of our 10 personnel or our cheetah set. So we're cheetah R here. And it's just power rules for the front side. They're doubling the back side, all right? Or if the guard had a guy in his gap, he would down block, so we'd have two down block, but they're doubling the backside linebacker, okay? The center, his rule is to block back, all right? He'd block back on a shade, or he'll block back on a 2-eye, 3, whatever. And then the guard's going to pull kick. Okay, and the tackle's going to pull wrap for number 1 in the box. All right, and you can put your back on this side and mesh him here and read the DN. Okay, read the DN, which is great. He squeezes hard. He runs down line of scrimmage. Quarterback pulls, gets the edge. All right, so that's one you can plug. You can also put a fullback in or a U-back in and kick. And then you don't have to worry about your quarterback reading it. So that's just traditional guard and tackle counter. That's part of our system. We have that ability to run this play. Here's a look at it. Same thing, but the U-back arc in the alley. All right, and you can do that simply by what you call it. That's the great thing about this system. You can call your plays whatever you want to call them. Car names, sports teams, whatever. So you can have separate calls or tags for your fullback and U-back. Like, you have seal tags, you have kick tags, anything you want to do to tag him on what his job is here. All right, so in this clip, or this slide, he's arcing the alley. He can also kick this DN, and there's no read, and now we're running counter back towards the away from it. Guard fullback counter, same rules up front. We're gap hinge here, blocking back, doubling the backside, pull kick, and the F is wrapping. All right, and we do teach skip pull with the fullback as well. Okay, so that takes some teaching. And then the same thing with the U-back. It is longer to go with a U-back. I will say that if he's lined up in a wing, I don't love it. All right, I don't love it running it like that, but sometimes you can get away with it depending on how fast that U-back is. He does have further to go. All right, so he's got a little further to go, so he can tighten his split a little bit, but he don't want to tighten it too much because you'll give away what you're doing with your U-back. Our dart play, okay, dart. All right, we're basing the 3, we're doubling backside. All right. And we're basing here. We can also pass set. We've done that before where we pass set the play side in and really run him upfield. Tackles pulling and wrapping. All right. Backs here, his landmark is outside hip of the guard. And the quarterback's reading the in-man line of scrimmage. He squeezes down, we're pulling and getting the edge. Okay. If he runs upfield, obviously we're going to give. Remember, we make eye contact with the guy on the read key. Make eye contact. Read his eyes. All right, his eyes are going to tell you whether to pull or give. It's a really important coaching point. I know it's simple, but when I heard it, the lights went on for me, and it just I've always taught it that way since. Here's dart. If you want to run it, this is a good play. Like you're running a bunch of same side power. Okay, a bunch of same side power. Run your dart play away from the fullback. Great counter. All right. They're doubling the backside, base, and now the tackle's wrapping, and the fullback's kicking the end man on the line of scrimmage. Okay. So that's a good counter away from the fullback. Versus odd stack, same with your power rules. All right. So, and then we have our mid zone. Okay. Our mid zone is a lot like our inside zone as far as covered, uncovered rules. Okay. Our linemen will work more of the middle of the body of the down lineman, okay, on their blocks. They'll kind of work more the middle instead of that inside number, all right, whereas in inside zone, they're working, that hand on that inside number. Mid-zone, all right, they're working more down the middle of their body, okay, and we like to run this play. We're running away from the fullback. It's a good counter play. I know it's a zone scheme, but it's a good counter play. We don't want this thing to hit backside. All right, so his landmark will be the outside hip of the guard. All right, and this thing is going to hit here or it's going to bounce. Okay, if this DN were to go inside, this thing can bounce out here. All right, so it's a good counter away from our fullback. It's a zone scheme, and it's not hitting right down the middle. It's hitting here and here. Okay. Then we have zone ISO. Let me get to it. Zone ISO, and all zone ISO is the backside guard. He's locked. All right, and these guys are just running zone. All right, they're running their inside zone rules, the covered, uncovered rules, the buzz calls, all that stuff. But we tag the zone ISO, and now he's ISOing the backside backer, not like our power ISO where he's ISOing the front side backer. He's ISOing the backside linebacker. Okay, he can do it where they're stacked like this. Okay, or you can do it like this, where you put the U back over here, all right, and now he's wrapping all the way for backside backer, and they're just running zone. And the ISO tag tells the end that he's locked. You can give it names, or you can call it anything you want to call it. So here, let's see what we have here as far as counters. Here's a guard and a fullback counter. We're getting a good, a backer has walked up in our tackle's gap. All right, so he was going to go for backside backer. Well, this backer walked up in B gap here, so he's down. He's got to take care of that. That's the first threat. And we're down, we're back, all right, and now we're pull kick, pull wrap. Great counter play off of that. Here's a good look at the end zone shot. You see the backer in our right tackle's gap. So he's down on him, getting it washed. Our fullback didn't do a great job of getting it. He got kind of hung up in traffic. So his steps were a little too tight. All right, so he's got to be able to clear that. and then that guy right there in the gap would be blocked. But our fullback got caught up in traffic, so our running back did a good job of making him miss. Again, all the scheme in the world, it's all about players. Sometimes got to have good players. So here we're down across the board. Almost, if we were to get a bear front, just like we would in our power scheme, we'd make a down call. And you'll have access to all this film, and you can contact me about questions and things as well. Once you start to get into the vault and get all this system together on your Glazier season pass. So here's the counter. We dressed it up with a little jet sweep action. Okay, a little jet sweep action. Our back does give a little counter step. All right, because we were running some jet sweep. All right, and this counter play is a great play off of a jet look. Dress it up with some eye candy to get those backers' eyes going. Looks really good from the end zone shot of that jet motion. Here's our zone ISO. Now we're running our zone play here. Fullback's wrapping up on the backside. Ends up bouncing it. Here's the zone ISO again. They're just run. The offense line is just running zone. The only difference is the backside tackle is locked, all right, and the fullback's leading up for the backside backer. Same thing there. And here's some more counters. Counter look, traditional counter looks. Again, really teaching to run through arm tackles. And you teach that by, the blaster or getting a noodle or something. This is something a little different too. You can, let's say that in this offense, Coach Troxler, I love the program. The offense is great, but I've got a quarterback that's a runner. Well, great. You can take these schemes that we're talking about and run the quarterback with them. This is just quarterback counter right here. It's called. He's faking to the back, and he's just running quarterback counter. So every counter play that we looked at here, you can do the same thing with quarterback. If you want to do some quarterback runs, if you've got a talented kid that you want to run the football with. Here, we've added a hat, like I said earlier, with another running back. He's blocking the edge player. Another counter clip. There's him bouncing it. And again, you'll have access to all this film. Just to kind of recap that, you want to have your zones, you want to have your gap schemes, you want to have all that together, but then you want to build your counter plays off of that, whether it's some quarterback runs or whether it's some zone type schemes with the fullback wrapping back away from what you run your base runs out. But it's very important to have counters within your offense.